I'll get you a little bit of freight train footage. We're here down on the canal in Richmond, Virginia. We're about to take ourselves a little cruise here. Flags gently waving in the breeze. Little random CS exit. Train cruises along. This is really nice down here. That's the way they have this all set up. With the canal and such. We're going to start soon enough to catch the front of the train, but that'll do. Like the random train we found yesterday in Charlottesville. A couple of engines going down. Middle of the track between the hospital and the garage. It was BNSF, I think. If I remember correctly. I'm like, oh, okay, there's some random trainage.
Well, I'd like to welcome you to the historic Richmond Canal Cruise. My name is Rusty. I'm going to be your host on this 40-minute tour. And if you have a question, just raise your hand. I'll be glad to answer it for you. If I don't know the answer, I guarantee you by tomorrow I'm going to know the answer. I love to do history, especially Richmond history. This canal that you're looking at right now really is just a total miniaturization of what this true canal was like in its real day. Imagine these waters being about 3 to 5 times wider than what you're looking at, and very, very, very fast moving waters coming through here, feeding off this James River, which is about 300 yards to our left. The James River, a mile east of here, all the way to the Atlantic Ocean, is a fully navigable waterway. But from this mile back, running right beside us, and up here we're going to turn around because this is where the hills of Richmond start going west, all the way up to what is present-day West Virginia. In the days this canal was built, there was no such thing as West Virginia. It was all Virginia territory. So it was the wisdom of George Washington, who by formal education was a surveyor. And he realized that if we could bypass by building a canal from a mile back all the way to a little port city called Buchanan County, Virginia, right at what is now the present-day Virginia-West Virginia line, that we could connect the Atlantic Ocean all the way by waterways to Middle America as we know it today. In his day, there was no such thing as a train, no concept of a train. So the project was started on the same year he was elected our first president in 1789. Unfortunately, he didn't live to see his vision come true, passed away 10 years later. But it took from 1789 to 1851 to build this canal of 197 miles, 91 locks. If you're doing the math, that's 52 years. You're thinking 52 years to build a 200-mile canal system? My God, that's slow. Not when you got to consider what they had to endure to build this. Where we are right now used to be underwater by a good 30 to 40 feet, all the way over to the other side of the banks of the James River, about half a mile across. And this river to this day over here is full of enormous boulders, and since it's all downhill from the mountains at the western part of the state, there are waterfalls, and all the way into Richmond. By the time the waters come into Richmond, they're what we call Class 4 rapids. that is one notch below the Colorado River. That river is still the same way it's been for millions of years. But it was just as bad here until the waters receded back. So in order to start digging this canal, they had to remove the big boulders now that were exposed on the ground and dig up trees and cut the stumps out and dig. And it was not easy because the only working tools they had were shovels and picks and axes. So it was an enduring job. But once it started, it opened up the large vessels to allow to come into Richmond from around the world, as far away as Asia, Europe, South America. There are products that we're bringing in from around the world for this trade setup: coffee, tea, herbs, spices, exotic metals. They would come into the ports of Richmond, unload, and then reload with the goods that were being produced on these fast-moving currents of this big canal, this wide canal, and an even wider James River to our left. So what were we producing to go back around the world or to go to Middle America on the waterways along with these foreign goods? Our number one producer for income was tobacco products. Number two, we had the largest mills, flour mills in the world, not just America, along these waterways, taking corn, wheat, and barley and grinding it up into flour. Naturally, we had lumber mills everywhere because of all the abundance of trees, and we had slaughterhouses. That meant tanneries, so you can imagine how polluted these waters were. But once this canal opened up, the large vessels would come in up to just to the point where we started out. Like I say, everything is just miniaturized right now for ease of walking and all. So they would come in, unload, and reload with their goods, and this was where the barges took over. These waters here were on all the way to Buchanan County, were only about 3 feet deep. The original concept was these loaded barges would be pulled off the bottom, but because of the strong currents, they end up having to use horses, mules, and even oxen, pulling these barges against these extremely strong currents. But once it took off, these barges got, as far as their lengths and tonnage they could pull, started getting bigger and bigger all the time, and they got up to about 185 feet in length, 35 feet wide, could pull over 60 tons of cargo in less than 3 feet of water. Once they got underway, it would take about 5 to 7 days to reach Buchanan County, again 197 miles away, 91 locks. But it was the most formidable, economical transportation there was. A horse and wagon didn't do squat compared to what a barge could do. And that was the reason this canal was built. Well, once these barges eventually, with stops along the way, picking up goods, dropping off goods, once it got to Buchanan County, they would reload all these accumulated goods that had come in from around the world and had come out of Richmond and along the little port cities along this canal into Buchanan County. They would sail the remaining James River, because now it's deep, the land is level, waters are navigable again, until it came to an end where it tapped into the Kanawha River, and that's where we got this name, James River Kanawha Canal System. From there, it would eventually do the same thing, drop off, pick up goods, and it would eventually merge into the Ohio River. Do you have any idea where the Ohio River finally comes to an end?